Hey everybody, Mah-Dry-Bread here. 1 year and 1 day ago is when I uploaded my first ever Pokemon challenge. And I was kind of thinking for a little while that I would do some kind of vlog to explain how my life has changed since then and what my channel was like before you found it, because I had 61,000 subscribers back then and I have 321,000 subscribers now. So a lot of you weren't around for back then. And I I didn't think the video was gonna start like this, but I think the video needs to start with an apology, because I'm probably gonna seem pretty down and maybe a little bit sad, low energy, this whole video, and that isn't at all what this was gonna be. This was gonna be a celebration. But about 20 minutes ago, my mom came over to my place, and she let me know that her cat Millie has cancer and that it's terminal, probably. Um, a lot of you don't know Millie, but when I used to live with mom, uh, had a cat called Millie. We've always been a big cat family, had tons and tons and tons of cats over the years, so it's not like I can't handle a cat dying or anything. It's just that Millie was one that I was particularly close with, and she's already had many bouts with cancer before and survived them. She's only 8 years old. We've always taken very good care of Millie, and she's survived through a lot. She was a stray that we took in when she was very, very young, and we didn't think she was going to survive the Canadian winter, so we took her in. And yeah, so if I look a little bit sad today, I apologize. I know this isn't a downer subject or anything. It's just, that's weighing heavily on my mind, and it just happened like 20 minutes ago that I got told. So, but the show must go on. Today is the day that I need to record this, and so I will. So I just thought I need to explain that and apologize right off the bat. Um, don't worry about Millie. She's had a really good life, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that she lives comfortably. We're making sure that she sees someone proper who can take care of her and give us an estimate on how long she can live comfortably. And that's the most important thing, is not keeping her alive just so that we can enjoy having her around, but keeping her quality of life high so that Millie's enjoying her last few months to a year. We don't really know what it's going to be yet. And don't throw money at me or anything during this whole thing. I have plenty to take care of the medical costs and everything, so don't go worrying about that. That's my problem to worry about. Now that we got that bummer subject out of the way, hey everybody, Mah-Dry-Bread here. So I'm recording my screen right now, but you just see my face. I don't even know if I'm going to edit this much. I just am simply also recording my screen in case I want to cut to that at some point during this vlog so we can all reminisce together. So about a year and a month ago is when I uploaded my first Pokemon challenge. It was Rattata only in Pokemon Red or Blue, probably Blue. I don't remember exactly. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about, like, where was my channel back then? Where was I in life back then? Why did I make the video? How did it do in those early days? Like, a lot of you weren't here for that. And so you might be curious about that. So I just want to, talk to you a little bit about it. So the Rattata video took me maybe 2 weeks, I think. It was actually a project I was really passionate about, so I edited it pretty hardcore, but I also didn't really know how I wanted to edit it, because although I've been doing my channel for 8 years by that point, 8.5, something like that, video a day for about 8 years by that point. And so although I had done a lot of different kinds of videos over the time, I'm primarily a Let's Player, but I would creatively stretch my legs a few times a year and try other stuff on the side. So if you're wondering, what did the channel look like before you found me? Almost the exact same, to be honest. The branding was the same, the name was the same, the content was the same. Literally, the only thing I changed was I added one extra weekly show, and that's the Pokemon Challenge. My Let's Plays, hilariously enough, are actually actively bad for my channel. They cause lots of people to unsubscribe because they follow through the Pokemon challenges and stuff. I'd actually probably get more views, more money, and more subscriber retention if I got rid of the Let's Plays, but I never will because it's my favorite part of the show. And I guess that just goes to I guess that shows what kind of YouTuber I am because I have a very old school mentality of this is my creative dumping ground. If I want to do a cooking vlog tomorrow, I'll just do a cooking vlog tomorrow. And some people will enjoy it. The majority probably won't watch it, but that's okay because I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it, you know? As long as I'm smiling and having fun with it, then the people who do click on it will probably have fun along with me. That's kind of how I look at it. Not everything has to be some kind of business decision. I'm not really that kind of guy. Um, so all I did was add this weekly show. Now, at the time that I made that one, like in the first few seconds of that video, I shouted out both J Rose and Picaspri because those are the two people that I had seen do that style before. Pokemon challenges have kind of always existed in some fashion. You know, challenges have already existed in many games, and before that whole thing got really big, challenges just like it in the same format existed for other games. Um, you know, Picaspri and J Rose are just kind of the first guys to get a lot of attention doing it, doing those kinds of videos in Pokemon. As far as I can tell, they were the first ones. They're the earliest most people can track to, is that J Rose and Picaspri were working on their first ones of those around the same time, pretty much by coincidence by the looks of it. I actually know J Rose now. He's a pretty cool guy. We got to hang out sometime because I know that he lives just a city over. But anyway, at the time, you know, I was a fan of Picaspri. I really liked his reviews of those like RPG Maker kind of horror-ish games, not exactly always horror games, where you're like exploring around, like almost like exploring weird dream sequence things. I always thought those were really fascinating, those games. I don't really play RPG Maker horror games very much because genuinely they actually kind of get to me. They scare me a bit, but learning about them I always find really fascinating. And he covers a lot of those, so I was already watching him for those, and so that's how I found his Pokemon Challenge stuff. And it's pretty much the same thought process I had when I started doing guides and when I started doing reviews and when I started doing tips videos and every other thing I've tried over the years, just not really trying to get popular, but seeing if I like doing it. And it was just me watching and being like, hey, that might be fun to try. At the time, I couldn't really find any other Pokemon challenges of that style. I know now that others existed by that style. Other people have tried that same thing. I've talked to a few friends actually who have said that that they've seen people try that style before me that wasn't Picaspri and J Rose. Like, I'm not an originator in any way on that. I simply just took it and did my own thing with it, which is fine. That's what all of YouTube is, you know? That's what Let's Play is. You're just being transformative. You take a genre and you do your own spin on it. And so that's kind of just what I did. And it's funny because when I was working on them, the intention was never to get popular. The intention was, hey, this might be fun to do. And I ended up having a lot of fun with the first one. So I immediately started doing another really difficult one. I've seen a couple people, I actually haven't seen this criticism in a very long time, actually, probably like 9 or 10 months now. But in the early days, a lot of people used to say, you're just ripping off this guy or that guy, or you're, come up with something original or whatever. But that's just not how I think about it. Like, when I look back at these early videos, you can visually tell by looking at the videos that I wasn't doing it to be famous. I think the best example of that is that I made the Magikarp one and the Sunkern one. Sunkern, lowest stats Pokemon in the franchise. Magikarp, generally regarded as the worst Pokemon. I made those before the first one ever blew up. When I made the Magikarp and the Sunkern ones, which were really, really hard, by that point, I had uploaded those. I already started on the Wobbuffet one. I was in the beginning of the Wobbuffet one before I blew up. And by that point, I had done one really easy challenge and 2 brutally hard ones. I was starting another brutally hard one, and I had made probably $5 off the previous 3 videos. And this took many, 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 many hours to do, and this is my job, so I was taking time away from other videos to do it. So it was actively losing me money to do. And I was doing it because I thought it was a lot of fun. I did think that it would probably do pretty well. I didn't think it would do that well. I remember one of my guides before that on not Crusader Kings, although those ones did okay, on Civilization 6, I remember it very slowly built up like 15,000 views over the course of like 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden hit homepage and exploded overnight to like 150,000, something like that. And then I think it tapered off. It probably has more than that now. I haven't checked up on it in quite a while. But I generally thought that's probably what's going to happen with my Pokemon challenges. They'll peak at like 100,000 views or something, and then we'll move on or whatever. And then like a month after the Rattata one went up, I still say it that way. Sorry, it's habit. It blew up really big. I just woke up one day to tons and tons and tons of emails of comments and subscribers, and I was trying to keep up, and it just kept going up and up and up. And I threw together a real quick vlog at the time, just letting you know, hey, I'm working on the next one. Thank you so much for subscribing, and trying to introduce myself to all the new people. It's weird, Been working on this. I've been doing a video a day for now 9 years. Been doing YouTube in general for 10 and a half, something like that, since I was a teenager. I'm 27 now. And to suddenly just blow up overnight like that is weird, You do it for so long and it just kind of feels like you're never going to blow up. You always just kind of have that thought in the back of your mind of, it'll probably happen eventually. I'll probably blow up eventually, but you never have any idea when it's going to be. And I thought I was going to get a little bit of attention, but I didn't think it was going to be anything like this. And some people, it's funny, I see some people come into the comments and they comment something like, oh my God, be original, do something that you came up with yourself, or oh my God, everybody knows the answer. Yes, you can probably beat it, whatever. And that's just not how I look at it, So what I'm looking at right now on my screen is the likes versus dislike ratio on these videos. I'm just scrolling through them. Let me go back to the first page. I guess I don't really need to show this on screen, do I? You can see it all publicly if you want to, but everything's 98% positive or more, 97 at the lowest, 97.5 at the lowest, actually. The views are high, the comments are happy. Every single day I get people messaging me telling me that I helped them through a rough time, or I made them smile when they're brought down by everything going on in the world today. I've seen so many people start doing Pokemon challenges and they shout me out in it, and they say that they started because of me. I've accidentally started I don't even know what to call it. I didn't start a genre, but this whole thing that I've been doing in this style of it, I seem to have really influenced a lot of people, and I never meant to do that. But I think I made the kind of community around it a better place. And that also wasn't my intention. I'm just kind of being me. And all of a sudden now, when I go to other people's comment sections, I see them saying doing the fossil joke, and the comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. And it's helped grow an entire community in terms of viewership, because it basically accidentally taught an audience how to support YouTubers, is comment and watch and like, and it actually does get shared around when you do that. It gets put up in the YouTube algorithm when you do that. And so people who used to be silent are showing their support, and it's literally helping the YouTubers. I've made a lot of friends through this. I've made a lot of money through this, to the point that, when you guys met me a year ago, I was at the poverty line. I had been for a very long time. I would sometimes get a little above it, and sometimes I'd be a little below it. But we got by because Fatima had a job at Starbucks, and it was paying okay for a while. We went through some dark times and everything with pay. I've been through... Those of you who've watched me forever have seen me go through a lot of really dark times. You've seen me severely underweight and malnourished. You saw me when I lost my house during legal battles with my mentally ill father, and all those dark times. You saw me through that, and you saw that I never stopped making videos because it's fun to me, and you guys seem to have fun with it, and I always get positive comments, And so I just want to make people happy. I've always just wanted to make people smile. So I always tell dumb jokes and everything, and I get in trouble for it sometimes, but I'm just trying to get people to lighten up, I just want people to smile, because people are really up in arms the last few years. And so I just want to make things fun again, Sorry, I didn't think I'd be getting sentimental or downer, but I guess I'm just in that mood today because of how my day started. I think that I've had a positive impact. I know that I've had a positive impact on a YouTube community that I have a very hard time describing. It's very hard to say where the borders of this are and the borders of my influence. And I don't want to go acting like I'm the most important guy in the world because I'm not. I'm literally just some guy. I'm just some guy making entertainment for you guys. And for whatever reason, 321,000 of you have decided that you want to click that button and haven't unclicked yet. And that it's not that I've done anything particularly special. I think that most people could do this if they truly want to do this. Most people could probably do this, as long as you have access to some fairly meager resources that are required to actually put it together. I've seen some dudes do a decent Pokemon challenge on a phone, to be honest, like entirely on a phone, and it's been pretty impressive when someone can do that. Obviously, it'll turn out better if you edit it on a computer and you have better production value and stuff, but if all you've got is a phone, yeah, you can actually kind of do this, and it's pretty impressive. I've seen a video of what sounded to be like a 10-year-old boy making a Pokemon challenge entirely on his phone, from recording the audio to doing the editing to like, I can't even imagine editing on a touchscreen. That's really, really impressive. That kid's got some work ethic on him. Good for him. I wish I could remember the name of the channel. I didn't even have time to watch the whole video. I've been so busy. I've always been a workaholic. I like my job, but I work dead minimum 70 hours a week. I take about 1 day off a month. Sometimes I don't take my day off just because I'm working, And I know that sounds like I'm going to work myself to the grave, but truly I'm not. I'm the kind of guy where what stresses me out isn't overworking. What stresses me out is getting to the end of the day and feeling like I didn't accomplish anything. When I can see a render queue full of videos ready to render out overnight at the end of the day, I'm happy. That's what makes me happy, is knowing I've checked off a lot of things on my checklist and that I've really worked my hardest, I think I'm getting really off topic, but I don't think it really matters, to be honest. The more I talk, the more I realize this is probably what you wanted, is for me to just say what I'm thinking. Which I do all the time on Twitter, mind you. I'm sure you guys have noticed that on Twitter, it's either really dumb jokes telling you behind the scenes stuff that other YouTubers aren't usually comfortable with talking about, or like just talking about stuff that's on my mind. I don't like to preach. I think the world has gotten too preachy. I don't think that I automatically know more about the world than anybody else just because I've earned this platform for myself. That's why I generally don't talk about politics and stuff on Twitter. I used to a little bit in the videos and on Twitter a few years ago when it was very fashionable to, and everybody was really talking about politics all of a sudden. When I look back on it, I'm like, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. And so now that I know that, I realize, you know what? I'm not going to talk about politics publicly very much because probably in a year or two, I'm going to learn a lot of things that'll make me disagree with things I thought now. And so although I have strong political opinions, I just don't think it's right for me to preach it to you guys. Because I'm not going to pretend like I know some kind of enormous amount. I like to study politics a lot in my free time, but I just don't want to preach it, I wish more people would take that stance, but that's just my personal opinions, and I'm not going to try and stop anybody because I think it's important that everybody be able to make their own choices as individuals. Don't even remember how that topic came up. I think I was just talking about Twitter. But if you like these just thoughts from me, I do this a lot on Twitter of just speaking my mind a little bit. The whole Twitter gag of promoting my Twitter is something that I find immensely hilarious, and people ask me to do more all the time, which I think is hilarious. Honestly, I think I've made my little tiny corner of Twitter a funner place because honestly, one of my favorite things to do in the day is just have a dumb thought and then go tweet it out. Because if I tweet out something that I think is funny or that I'm not taking too seriously, then you guys will all tell jokes back to me on it. And I like a bunch of those. And it's just a fun time. Twitter's as fun as you make it. Just follow people that you have fun following, Twitter can be a real bummer sometimes, but you can tailor it to a decent degree. it's as fun as you want it to be for the most part. But I try to use my platform for good in an atypical way. Just in that I'm just trying to make people smile for the most part. Um, I think that that does a lot more to improve the world than anything else I could be doing, is simply get people to put down the pitchfork, calm down a little bit, and just have a fun time. None of this is political commentary on what's going on right now in the world, by the way. I genuinely don't even want to talk about that right now because it's just the thoughts on everything going on are so complicated right now, and I'm worried about a lot of people right now. I've already privately gone to a lot of friends over the course of this whole pandemic and just let them know that if they have any financial trouble through this, I want to try my best to support them if they need someone to come to, just because I do have the luxury of money now, and so I don't want anyone suffering through all of this. Um, but that's just my own private thing that I've done as an individual. I don't really feel super comfortable talking a whole lot about what I'm doing behind the scenes to try and help with situations like this, because I don't want to be that guy who like does charity work and then brags about it or anything like that. And so I simply would rather not talk about that stuff. I would simply rather just say, study lots, do what you think is right, be kind and understanding to people, listen to people with different perspectives from you, even if you don't agree with them, and just try to be more understanding. Um, to get off of those subjects though, and back on YouTube, because I'm sure that that's what you came for more than anything. I'm a really proud person, and I think I've become a very proud person over the last couple years of really trying to become a better person, because I used to be such a jaded asshole. I had a real bad start in life, a lot of problems with poverty, a lot of problems in the household, problem with an abusive father, problems with school, and problems with my disabilities, and there was a lot that I was very jaded about for a long time, and I guess I had good reason to feel like the world was against me, but it still made me a bitter person. And it only made me one because I let it make me one. The more I grow up, the more I realize that it's just not healthy. I could sit around and be bitter about this stuff forever, but the fact of the matter is that I do have the power to improve a lot of people's lives. And I have that power because I worked my ass off for a decade to be able to have the power to make people happy like that en masse. I get about 1 million views every week on YouTube, and that's something I'm immensely proud of because those are people who chose to watch my stuff and presumably kept watching. And they must have had fun on some level because they kept clicking. So that's something that I am really proud of. And I think I've realized to be proud, but humble, I guess. Because I don't think I'm a big deal. I think most people could probably do this if they really wanted to. The only difference between me and a lot of people is that I really, really wanted to make people smile. You know, I've always just been like a jokey guy because I just like making people laugh. I've never been a social guy. I've always been very, very antisocial. I'm a hermit. I don't leave the house for legitimately. I won't leave the house for over a month at a time sometimes because I'm a hermit. I get drained by social interactions. I really like people talking to people online because it doesn't drain me as much. But for the most part, I just have like 1 or 2 people that I see in person, and that's enough to drain the hell out of me. I enjoy it. It's very tiring for me, and I very much appreciate my alone time. Because it's just how I am. It's how I've always been. I've been kind of antisocial in that way. And I understand this probably also possibly part of what draws people to want to talk to me and want to get to know me is that I know that I don't talk like anybody else. And I know that no one's ever said you're just like this guy. You know? People have said to me, you sound like this guy, or your voice sounds like that guy, or whatever. No one's ever told me, you're like, hey, Madrot, you're like this guy, or nowadays, hey, MDB, or hey, Mah-Dry. My real name is Madrot, by the way. It's a very old Welsh name. I don't blame anyone for never hearing that name before and anything. No one gets it right on the first try. Just call me Mah-Dry or MDB. That's what almost everybody in my life calls me, and that's what I prefer to be called anyway. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with being called my real name, to be honest, from anyone beyond very close family. There's something a little weird about it to me. And so I usually just go by MDB, which is what I've been since high school. That may as well be my real name at this point. Um, anyway, I've never had someone say that I'm like somebody or that somebody is like me. At least they've never said it to me. And so I kind of get the impression that I don't talk like a lot of people. I don't talk about the same things that other people talk about. I know that I'm really different. Um, and I guess it's paid off for me because I could talk about basically anything, and a sizable amount of people will just sit there and watch me. And I kind of understand it because I could watch a passionate person talk about what they're passionate about forever. I once listened to a football podcast for like a year because I just really liked the people on it, and they're really passionate about American football. And they seemed to really love it, and they were joking, and they were just a bunch of good friends joking about football. What was that show called? Turducken Tuesday or something? It was like a really long time ago. This was a really long time ago. I'm talking like 10 years ago, probably. This was like Lord Cat, if you guys remember that guy, way back in the day. I don't even know if he's still doing stuff, but I just remember that guy was a real fun time back then. And Rolo T and Y Ruler of Time, and Nick, he was on there. And they just seemed like some real nice guys who just were just really good, genuine friends. And I always loved that. And I listen to that a lot, even though to this day, I don't really have any interest in sports at all. I don't like sports even remotely. Um, it's just not interesting to me beyond the tactical aspect of how uh, American football is kind of like a turn-based RPG, like a turn-based tactical game. It's like the nerdiest sport I've ever heard of, and it's so cool because of that. I think football is really cool, but I can't get into watching it personally, which is why football video games are probably really cool. Blood Bowl 2, that's a fun game. I got to get back into Blood Bowl sometime, where it's like Warhammer fantasy football. How cool is that? We're like, they're actually orcs. And it's like a tile-based, turn-based strategy. You got to get the balls up, but you're also like punching out other dudes and killing them and like leveling up your dudes. It's really cool. Whenever I bring up that I don't like sports, someone always says, "But you love pro wrestling," to which I always respond with, "Pro wrestling's not a sport; it's theater. Pro wrestling is my favorite art form in the world, above video games." I brought that up many times, and it's one of those things where people who don't get wrestling will often complain about it and say it's stupid and whatever, it's fake. So is Game of Thrones, whatever. Everything's not a documentary. Documentaries are fake half the time. They lie about stuff all the time. Wrestling isn't... When people say, wrestling's fake, right? It's like, you don't know the appeal of wrestling. You just... Don't be dismissive of things you don't know, because when you say to a wrestling fan, like, wrestling's fake, right? It's like, yeah, they watch an undead wizard called The Undertaker shoot lightning. Like, it's not a show pretending to be real. Like, they think that you look so stupid and so condescending when you say, wrestling's fake, right? Because like, you don't watch the show. You don't even know that there's a wizard shooting lightning on this show. Like, you care so little about my medium that you're just going to condescend to me about it because you don't know anything about it. I'm just so happy that so many people are getting into wrestling now, and I'm very proud that I've gotten so many people to at least try it. Because there's a reason wrestling's biggest crossover is with anime fans, not with sports fans, because professional wrestling is the most successful live-action anime in human history. There's a reason why wrestling is very popular and respected in Japan. A lot of early manga was based off wrestling. If you like anime, you're probably really gonna like wrestling. I'm rambling about everything in my life now. It's just, what I'm trying to say is, I could listen to a passionate person talk about what they're passionate about forever. And so I guess I understand why people listen to me. Because I can be all over the place, and I don't know. It's just, I'm talking about what I really, really care about. And I'm not being exclusionary. And I don't like to insult people, because I think that people are more complicated than anyone gives them credit for. I've gotten salty in the comments before for sure in response to things. What really tends to upset me, and I know you're not supposed to say what really upsets you online because then, hey, sorry, the my SD card on the camera actually filled up, so now I'm recording this a different style where I have it going through SparkleCam on the computer. I'm really sorry. It might look slightly worse, and the it might look slightly worse, and the frame rate might be worse. I don't know, but I don't want to wait for a never-ending transfer from the SD card to the computer during the vlog. What I was just saying is, I know you're not supposed to say what upsets you when you're online, but because people will use it to hurt you, but whatever. The comments that tend to really bother me is when someone makes an assessment of my character that I know is really wrong. When they try to assume things about me, assuming I'm some kind of sellout or assuming all kinds of things. It's like I can argue with them. I can point out my evidence to the contrary of why I haven't sold out. Like literally my channel's the exact same as before, but I have one extra weekly show. I never compromised on what my show is to those 61,000 people before I blew up. I still have all kinds of love and passion for what I do. I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. I remember on my Curious Cat account, it's like Springform and Ask FM, one of those kind of things. Someone asked me recently, like, if you could teleport to anywhere in the world, where would you be? And I genuinely thought about it, and I just said, I'm pretty happy where I am, because that's what I mean. I wouldn't rather, I just want to be home working, That's what I like doing. So I read a lot of comments, and they're so overwhelmingly positive for the most part. And it means a lot to me because I've worked so hard for this for so long. Like, no one's ever going to know how hard I've worked as well as myself because I put in the hours. But I think a lot of you have an idea of how hard I've worked. And I think my family knows how hard that I've worked. And both on my job and becoming a better person and getting my body in shape and rounding out my ideas and my mindset and just figuring out the kind of person that I want to be going into adulthood, I spent a lot of time just thinking about how do I want to treat people? How do I respond to tough situations, Learning that even when someone is a real dick to me, that there's a lot going on in their life that I don't understand, and that it is simply not productive for me to assume the worst of them, that I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and assume the best in people, and never try to, I don't believe in an eye for an eye, and I don't want to cause harm to others, and I don't want to, nothing like that, I'm not going to pretend like I get along with every single YouTuber, because although I get along with almost every single YouTuber I ever have met, yeah, there's a few I've met during this whole situation that I don't get along with, and some of the internet knows that, but I nevertheless am proud of them and the success that they've gotten, and I want them to do well, and although we don't get along today, maybe we'll get along tomorrow, That's kind of how I want to look at the world. A big thing for me is learning that you're going to drive yourself insane if you try to control everything. Let's say you're working at your job and everything and you get fired and you think it was total bullshit. You think it's just politically motivated, or someone just didn't like you, or someone was lied to about your job, or whatever you think it was that you think is unjustified. You can sit there and you can be bitter and you can be upset about it, and I don't really blame you for being upset about it. But a healthier approach that's going to get you farther in life is to remember that the things that are in your control is stuff like, how hard are you working? What is your work ethic like? How are you treating other people at work? And so I like quotes a lot. One of the quotes that resonates with me is, be so good that they can't ignore you. And that's something that I heard a few years ago, and I really took to heart, and it paid off. I just kept working my absolute hardest. Hold on, let me close that. Sorry, just had to close the door because my mom just got back. Fatima and my mom are gardening today and doing all kinds of stuff. So I want to wrap this up fairly soon so that I can go spend some time with them. Be so good that they can't ignore you is something that I took very, very seriously, where I can't control if somebody else thinks that I'm good enough, but I can control being good enough. I can outwork people. I can study harder than people. I can put in that kind of passion that the world needs. And I'm very fortunate that I figured out how to tap into that because it's improved my life immensely in every single way that I can think of. Um, you can't argue with results. And so you may not be able to control whether you get fired or not. But if you can be so good that they can't ignore you, if you can be so good at your job, work so hard, and be so unrelentingly kind to the world, no matter what it throws at you, you will do well. And so I just tried to be so good that they couldn't ignore me. And I know it paid off because even with all the success of the Pokemon challenges, the Let's Plays are still they're getting bigger than they ever have before. My Let's Plays have always been the favorite thing that I do. Just making people laugh, just improv comedy, and teaching people games and just stuff like that. And they used to get a few hundred views within the first 3 days of them going up. And now they get much more than that. Now they get like a dead minimum of 2,000, and if it's a Pokemon game, like 35,000. And in the wake of that, in the wake of Pokemon Stadium especially, I have had so many comments on other Let's Plays that I've done, just saying, "You are so good, I can't believe I didn't find you before." And stuff along that. And that honestly means more to me than any other comments that I've ever gotten, to know that I have been good enough this entire time and that all the work that I've done is worth it. Just to know that I have actually been good enough and that I have worked hard enough and that I did make something of value. That I've simply just not been good at getting it in front of people. And that, yeah. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to get emotional at all today. I almost never cry ever. To put it mildly, I've seen a lot of shit in my life, and it takes a lot to get me to tear up at all. And so that tiny little drop I can feel in my right eye right now is the most you're going to get today. Just knowing that I've been good enough and that I earned this. I earned that I live in a good house now. Yesterday I was outside barbecuing, cooking some homemade burgers, and just having a really good time. I earned the money for that barbecue. I earned the money to get the good meat at the store this time. I don't need to eat scraps anymore. There was a time when I would legitimately sometimes eat bits of cardboard to fill out my diet because I was very hungry and I wanted to make sure that my mom didn't go without. And I wouldn't tell her because I knew that if I told her, she'd be doing the same because she would silently be making sure that I'm not starving. Because that's the kind of person she is, and that's the kind of person that I want to be. The kind of person who's selfless and puts other people in front of them and doesn't brag about their fucking charity work. Because that is not something that you should brag about. It's just how I want to live my own life. I'm not going to judge somebody else for that, though. Just knowing that everything I've done is good enough. And that I've made a whole lot of people happy. I can easily say that if I lose all my success tomorrow, I can be very, very proud of myself. Because I've earned this. And just, it was actually worth the work. I didn't think this is where this vlog was going to go today, but this is where it went today. I don't think I'm going to watch this back in editing. I'm just going to apply my audio effects to the audio to make sure that you can hear me clearly and that it sounds good. And I'll try to hunt down that little part where I had to close a door. Either than that, I think I'll just leave this as be, make a thumbnail, tasteful little fade at the beginning and the end. And then I'll just put it up, compose myself, and go downstairs and hang out with Mom. Gonna play some Civilization or some RimWorld later today with her, and that's gonna be a fun time. All right, that's enough of that. Enough being depressed today. Let's. I have plenty of fun to go have. So thank everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.